For this particular episode, or at least news segment, I want to talk about the Low Rider S. There's a lot of rumors flowing around. Does it have bags? Does it have speakers? How much displacement does it have? And I was able to get the spec sheet on this, so I'm just going to share that with you and do a side-by-side comparison between the 2021 114 to the upcoming 117 Low Rider S. So let's get right to it. Alright, so on the left here we got the 2022 version of the Low Rider S, and then on the right is the spec sheet for the 2021 Low Rider S that we're all familiar with. This spec sheet here that I got on the left, I didn't steal it or anything like that. I got it from a German website that seemed very reputable, and on the right is the one that's directly from Harley-davidson.com. So what we're going to do is going to go line by line, and I already highlighted all the differences between the 2021 and 2022 version, and I'm just going to give you guys what kind of difference it would make on the actual bike itself and what kind of experience you would expect as a rider. So starting off with the dimensions here on the left and the right. So the length is actually a little bit longer on the 22 version with just about 0.4 inches, and then overall width is also a little bit bigger, about 0.8 inches. So the dimension of the 22 version of the Low Rider S is slightly bigger than the previous models, and if you look at the height, it is also taller by about 1.3 inches, which is quite different. And if you look at the seat height, it is slightly taller. You can see seat height of 28 inches on the 22, and then when you look over to the 21 version, it's 27.2. And then going to the ground clearance, it actually gives you 1 inch more, which is 5.7 on the 22 version and 4.7 on the 21 version, which most likely the 22 version is going to have a better lean angle, just given the higher ground clearance. So we'll look at that when we get down there. All the other specs here seem to be the same tires, same size, same fuel capacity, which is 5 gallons, and same gross weight. So it's actually larger, but the weight is exactly the same. So I don't know if that's a miscalculation or they were able to sacrifice some of the other parts to make it the same weight as the previous model. This is the more interesting part here, which is the engine. You can see here clearly it says Milwaukee 8 117, and the older is the 114. The bore size is slightly larger on the 2022 version, not by a lot, but about 1.5 millimeters. Displacement, clearly 117 is larger by 3 inches. You got 1923 cubic centimeters, and then you got 1868 cubic centimeters on the 21 version. The compression ratio is slightly tighter, where it's 10.2 to 1, and 2021 version is 10.5 to 1. The air cleaner, I'll show you in the picture later on, but you'll know that the air cleaner has been upgraded, where the 2022 version has the heavy breather intake with synthetic media, and 2021 version has the ventilator intake that we're used to seeing. So it does have an upgraded air intake system for the 22, which is quite exciting. Going down to the drivetrain, looks like the ratio and everything looks the same. Let's move down to the chassis. Okay, so the only big difference was suspension travel in the rear, so it looks like they upgraded a bit. So the rear travel actually has 1 extra inch, which makes a big difference. And I think they did that due to the fact that the 2022 version is designed to have more luggage and most likely the fairing. So going to the performance of the engine, you can see that the 22 version has 125 foot-pounds of torque at 3,500 RPM, and then the 21 version is 119 at 3,000 RPM, so the difference of 6 foot-pounds of torque. Now what's interesting is that this German version actually shows the horsepower, 103 horsepower at 4,750 RPM, which is kind of odd because Harley-Davidson never really reveals the horsepower. But from the testings done for the Softail Low Rider S 114, it's usually around 100 horsepower. So it is a 3 horsepower difference. Probably not going to make that much of a difference on the road, but there is an upgrade towards that. As expected, the lean angle is actually it has improved by about 1.2 degrees, which is great because every degree counts when you want performance, especially going into a turn. So it's nice to see that there's an extra degree between the two bikes. And then going down to the electric portion, which I thought will have a little bit more upgrades, but it looks like everything is the same. The only thing that kind of throws me off is the gauge, how it's described as a 4-inch analog tachometer, which is exactly the same it's written on the 2021 version. I was kind of under the impression, based on looking at the pictures, that the instrument cluster may be the same digital tachometer or the TFT display that's given on the Sportster S, but based on the spec sheet, I think it might just be be the regular analog tachometer with the digital speedometer on the bottom that I've seen on the Softail Slim and the Fat Bob. But based on this, it doesn't look like we're gonna get the TFT display on the Low Rider S. And then going down, the warranty and service, everything seems to be the same. So in a nutshell, just solely based on the spec sheet, is that expect the 2022 version to be slightly taller, wider, and longer, but with the same weight. And of course, performance-wise, you are gonna get a slight increase in terms of displacement, torque, and horsepower, and expect that 1 extra degree of lean angle plus the rear suspension. All right, so now looking at side-by-side profile of the 2022 Low Rider S, which is on the left, and then the 2021 version, which is on the right. We're just doing a very quick side-by-side comparison of the two. Right off the bat, the big thing that sticks out for me is the fuel tank on top of the 22 version. It's a little bit more of a slim profile where you don't have the big instrument cluster on top of the fuel tank. And then when you look at the 21 version, you got that big wedge of instrument cluster that you have seen for many years on the Low Rider S. So now that's gone, which I like a lot because it gives you more of a slimmer profile. But where did that instrument go? It went onto the top on the handlebar, much like a Sportster, which I really like. And then the next obvious thing is right in the center, you will see the new air intake on the 2022 Low Rider S. Now I know for taller riders, sometimes your knee ends up hitting these air intakes, so I'm not exactly sure how the comfort level changes on that one. And then little subtle change is the derby cover where it's matching the bronze color scheme that is the same as the wheels. Based on just looking at the picture here, you can't tell that the ground clearance is an inch taller or if the seat height is a little bit higher. It does sport the same seat, same fenders, but as mentioned before, there's probably going to be a touring kit that could be an option that would be attached to the new Low Rider S. But overall, I'm actually quite impressed that this is not just a paint color change and that it actually has some of the performance differences. If you guys have any comments on the upcoming Low Rider S or any news in general about the Harley-Davidson lineup for 2022, put it in the comments below. I am giving away a monthly prize to one lucky commenter of my channel that I will choose randomly at the end of the month. So just comment away on any of my videos and do look forward to the continuation of the Battle of the Sportster. Peace.